How life-shattering tragedies can become the spark for truth, purpose, and a dream life realized. My good friend, radio host and producer, Sherry Beall. She's host of a Right to Know, a podcast she's been doing for a long time, getting the truth out. She shares her journey from heartbreak to healing, from media to missions, plus how she turns poison into medicine and lemons into limoncello. And let me just tell you, I love me some limoncello. But first, well, good, beautiful day, beautiful, beautiful souls. This is Charla Anderson, host of the Charla Anderson Show, collector and connector of fascinating people. And everyone is fascinating, especially you. But first, we're going to do that 22-second mini vacation, this little breathing exercise. Let's breathe in our calm, hold for 4 seconds, and breathe out gratitude for 11 seconds. Here we go. Breathe in, I am calm. Hold. Relax, release. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just encouraging you to take a deep breath now and then. All righty? Every day, multiple times, not just these little shallow breaths we're always doing. So I cannot tell you how excited I am to have Sherry Beall. You know, she's over in Europe right now. She's not kidding about Italy and limoncello, and I think she's in France or all over Europe right now, which is so cool because tragedy. You know, her house burned down in the California fires. Her home was one that was destroyed. So we're going to talk a little bit about so much stuff. I mean, I tell you, we've known each other for 16 years or something. 2015, I think we met in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
I think I know. I'd have to calculate that.
2015 was when we had the Yes Conference. I had a conference.
It was in 2015?
Mm-hmm. Dallas.
No.
I know. Can you believe it?
Wow. Oh my goodness. I remember you said, I was like, I don't know, Charla. I was in California and the conference was in Texas, and you go, just say yes. And I was like,
Yes Conference. And you
okay. All right. I'll just say yes. I love that. I'll never forget that. In fact, I have your voice in my ear sometimes when I'm questioning, like, gosh, should I? Oh, I don't know. Like, I just went to London and I'll tell you guys about that. And I was like, hearing Charla go, just say yes. You know?
Well, you know my saying, when intriguing opportunities present themselves and you say yes, things show up. We think we can't get through stuff, but we've made it every day up to now, every breath. And so when it's an intriguing opportunity and you say yes, things start working towards manifesting it with you.
Right. And I could just cry.
Yeah.
Charla, that is priceless right there. There's a soundbite. Okay. And I hope all of your listeners are so encouraged, because when you said that to me years ago, you may not have realized, because I've never shared it with you, but I've heard your voice say, just say yes, you know, and I've, you know, jumped on some great opportunities. And you asked me what I wanted to call today's show, and it's making limoncello out of lemons. It's not just lemonade. That hit me when I was in Italy, but I'll tell you my story. And I mean, since you already mentioned it, I'll go right ahead and jump into it if you'd like. I'm originally from the East Coast, I was born in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia, like right over the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. And I first lived on Mount Vernon Avenue. So, you know, George Washington, like right down the street. And anyway, that was, pretty cool. Virginia's a pretty state with lots of trees and such. Nice place to grow up. But I've lived more than half of my life in California. And I, in a nutshell, I got a scholarship through AFTRA, and many of your listeners might know there was SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, and AFTRA was American Federation for Television and Radio Artists. So I was an actress for many years, and I was in all the unions. And I was granted a scholarship that I used for one of the best film schools in the country, which was USC Film School, for the summer. I had already had a couple of degrees, a degree in theater and a degree in French. And we'll tie that together later in the show. Right now with France. So anyways, I got a scholarship. I went out to California and stayed. I had two really good friends out there. And I wasn't interested in going out there earlier because hearing about all the earthquakes, I'm like, nah, I'm not interested. Sunshine sounds great. Love the ocean, but not interested in the earthquakes. So finally, I went out to California and loved it and stayed. And I ended up running film sets after film school. I for many years worked as an assistant director, usually start as a production assistant. But that was, again, one of those moments in our life when, and I'm just talking to everybody, when we get these opportunities and you can just say yes, you got to give it some thought. But instead of being driven or led by fear, it's always better to choose faith over fear. And so after film school, I got this opportunity to jump on a film set and work as a first AD, which is you're running the set. And I was used to being on big sets in New York City. I lived there, before California, before Los Angeles. And so I would work on big sets like Woody Allen films, and I worked on Ishtar years ago, and like lots of sets where you're used to hearing it. You're used to hearing the call, quiet on the set, cameras rolling. And so I was used to that, went to film school and figured everything out in my head. And I jumped on this project that the first AD quit 3 weeks into a 6-week shoot. And it was like Mutiny on the Bounty. Everybody was getting ready to quit. And they're mostly guys. When you're working on a film set, there's not a lot of girls, especially running the set. So anyways, I jumped in, worked everything out, went over all the shots with the director, and finished, finished that whole project. Then jump ahead many years later. One of the places I loved in LA was the Pacific Palisades. It was magical. Right when I got out of film school, I actually did a musical review at the Palisades Theater. So my heart was always there in the Pacific Palisades. It has the most beautiful views of the Pacific Ocean you could ever imagine. Just breathtaking. And there's so many hiking trails. So you're around nature, and there were lots of animals. I used to have, where I lived in the Palisades, deer would come up in the backyard, bucks, hummingbirds everywhere. And for a while I lived up at this other place, and owls would come up in the tree right over my deck, and I've actually recorded that, but just being around nature. So the Pacific Palisades, and they have this parade every July 4th. You felt like you were in America 1950s. Unbelievable. And they'd have people like the honorary person of the parade would be like Anthony Hopkins one year, or somebody like that. And yet it was very down to earth, because there were many people who lived in the Pacific Palisades who moved there like 50 years ago, when it was like, where is this place? Out in the middle of nowhere before it came really like posh. So there are still a lot of people in the Palisades that had moved there many, many years ago. So anyway, my life was going great. I was living in the Palisades. I was doing my podcast, which Charla mentioned is called A Right to Know. And I chose that title because I wanted to empower people to feel it was okay to ask a question and go down the rabbit hole if you needed to. Because I did research, and many of your listeners may or may not know that whole term, for example, conspiracy theory, was created by the CIA out of the Warren Commission, which the JFK assassination, because they didn't want people to ask questions about the lone gunman, etc. They wanted them to believe what their narrative was, their false narrative. And so they needed to stop people from thinking critically. So anyway, I came up with the title A Right to Know, which I've used for decades. And I did my show on FM radio in Los Angeles for a long time. So I'm in the Palisades, and I love kids. So I was substitute teaching so I could work whenever I wanted. And I taught from kindergartners to seniors in high school. Like I would be one day kindergarten and the next day Palisades High School teaching seniors in high school. And it was just really fun. I just love kids because I love their joie de vivre, their joy of life. Like they have their whole lives ahead of them. They're always so excited. And especially little kids, how they just play around and they do like nobody's watching, right? They can be in the middle of the grocery store dancing, and they don't think anybody can see them. They think they're invisible. And I love that. Anyway, so life is good in the Palisades. I'm teaching, and I'm also decided, well, hey, I'm going to hostess at like one of the hottest newer restaurants in the Palisades, full of celebs, all the time, like Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg, James Woods, the Kennedys, the Schwarzeneggers, just, the list goes on and on, Conan O'Brien, et cetera, et cetera. And it was fun because for many years I worked as executive assistant to the chairman and CEO of MGM and United Artists Studios for 6 years. So a lot of these people I already knew. My job was to greet the actors or the directors or people like that and bring them back to the office. And that was after I got my scholarship to film school. I got this position working for the head of MGM. And one of the kickers was they needed somebody with my background in the film industry and my strong administrative skills, also someone who spoke French fluently, because at the time the French bank owned MGM, Credit Lyonnais. So I actually got hired in the interview. So that was a really cool thing. So I worked for 6 years as executive assistant to the chairman and CEO of MGM Studios. Great man. I was so fortunate. I was working for one of the best gentlemen in Hollywood. And so anyway, so I'm in the Palisades and life is good. And it was a magical place. And I always said, if I didn't live in the Palisades, I don't think I'd want to live in LA at that time. It kind of got to that point. LA's not a very pretty picture in my opinion right now. And I've been there for decades. So I'm comparing it with, the way it used to be. So anyway, life is good in the Palisades. And it's the beginning of January. It's January 7th. And I'm dressed, ready to go work out, which I think is a very important thing for us to do. Move, get some kind of exercise, dance, sweat, get fresh air. It's so important. And as the older we get, even though I'm still think I'm 33, the more important it is, for us to move around. Because you asked me that as one of the questions, Charla. What do you want to share, with the listeners? So we'll go into that, but that is very important. So I'm getting ready to go work out at my favorite workout place, which is called F45, which stands for Functional 45. It's a great 45-minute workout. It's an Aussie company that created this workout. It's off the charts. Anyway, so dressed, getting ready to go out, and all of a sudden on my phone, I get evacuate immediately, fire. And I'm like, what? So I walk out to my backyard and I see this huge plume of smoke over the Pacific Ocean, because I had this great view of the Pacific Ocean, straight shot. Huge plume of dark smoke. And I look around and I see the house up on the hill not far from me that's on fire. It's where the fire started. And I'm like, oh my God. So being in LA and being in California, most people are used to, you don't know when an earthquake is going to come. And so you need to have certain things ready. And I was always one to take CPR courses. And I had just recently taken one and had all my backpack, stuff and all my emergency things. And I also, strongly suggest this to anyone, because it's not just earthquakes. We have floods, we could have tsunamis, we have, all kinds of, and then there's the weather manipulation. That's a whole other topic. So you just don't know what to ever expect, and you need to be ready. So I did have my important things close by my computer and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's really wild when you get an evacuation notice and you got these voices in your head going, oh, well, no, your house isn't going to burn down. No way. But you never know what's going to happen. So I go around and I'm grabbing stuff. I'm opening, my suitcases that I had around, throwing stuff in it. And, you look at stuff and you go, whoa, that's really expensive. Nope. You got to get out of here. You got to hurry up and get out of here. And of course, a lot of this really sentimental stuff and things I left behind. So I pack up my car, and it was apparently gridlock on Sunset Boulevard, which is really scary. And you could see as I'm driving out of my neighborhood, because I taught at the elementary school, 3-minute walk from my neighborhood, you could see on the faces of all the parents, they're trying to be calm, but everybody's like rushing around, like they're trying to get their kids out of school. Some people didn't even have time to go home. Some people couldn't even get home. I mean, it was a Tuesday morning, about 10:30, 11:30. And fortunately, I knew a shortcut near it's called the Bel Bay Club, how to get out of the neighborhood. And it was like I had a guardian angel. I just went through and got out, and I was heading down PCH, which is Pacific Coast Highway, towards Santa Monica. And it was like nothing was wrong. It was traffic in the direction I was going was like, psh. So anyway, long story short, it took days to find out. And there were kids sneaking in the neighborhood shooting things, and we'd all go on Nextdoor and try to look and see, is my house still there? Is my house gone? Oh my God. So I did go on Nextdoor, and finally someone shot a very short little video that was right before my house. And I'm telling you, it looked like a bomb went off. Like the cars were burnt out. There was nothing left but fireplaces on the land. Everything was gone. I mean, it was unbelievable. And you could see they drove by and they taped it, and I could notice my driveway. I knew that was my driveway, and the house was gone. And and they went right past the school. So, wow, I'm sure there are people out there listening, that have had experiences, and my heart goes out to you, that your whole life changes in like a nanosecond. And so what I did was, of course, I had a place to stay. And at the time I was seeing this guy. I was communicating with this guy who was so busy touring around the world on this new product that he had, that we didn't have a whole lot of time to get together. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't keep, seeing you if we can't really see each other. And he goes, oh, no, that's why I wanted to invite you to go to Tuscany for a couple of weeks in Italy. So this is in October, right? So I had a trip also planned to go to Florence, all over Tuscany for like 2 weeks in January. So even though my fire happened, I thought, gosh, at least I've got something to look forward to. I grabbed some of my stuff because I'm going to go to Italy for a couple of weeks. That'll be really good for me to get away and get my mind off all this. And oh my God, just so much to deal with. It was just like you're in shock, PTSD. And so a little bit after.
So you were just staying with a friend, some friends or something?
Yeah, I was had a place to stay. Luckily had, a bit of renter's insurance. And, so I had, place to stay, and I was going to go to Italy in January, and then my guy had to cancel. So not only did my house burn down, but my trip to Italy was canceled. And after that happened, I'm like, I just need a couple of days to give this some thought. I need a couple days a break. So what happened? Talking about, well, that expression turning poison into medicine, or crisis is opportunity, right? That ancient Chinese symbol, crisis is opportunity. So what I did in those couple of days, I found an amazing school in Florence, Italy. They granted me a partial scholarship. I decided, excuse my French, screw this, I'm going to go anyway. Of course, it's scary. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have a place to live. So
I'm going to flit off to Italy for, what the heck? Why not?
right.
I don't have a house payment right now. I was saying.
Right, exactly. And I have a little bit of insurance to get me by so what happens was the guy calls me like 3 days later and goes, hey, how are you? And I go, I'm good. How are you? And he goes, good. He goes, what's up? And I go, well, I just got a partial scholarship to study Italian in Florence, and I'm going to be going there for a couple of months. Oh, really? So anyway, not that it was easy, and I just encourage anybody out there when it seems like a crisis is hitting you, and we all have those, right? To have faith, just walk right through the fear and see that God is opening another door. Because it's really hard for us to see that when we're in the middle of a huge crisis. But God had opened a couple of doors, and I walked through the one. I went to Italy for 7 months. I studied Italian. I worked my butt off, and that was on my bucket list. Okay, I fortunately happened to have an Italian passport and an American passport. So I knew I didn't have to worry about visa issues, but still. But I thought, if I'm an Italian citizen, I have to speak Italian. Like, I could get by. I got by on the Italian, but with the language, and I've loved Italian since I was 12 years old when my neighbors took me on a luxury cruise as their babysitter on an Italian cruise liner. And I still have the book that one of the waiters gave me. So that was on my bucket list. I studied 5 days a week. I worked really hard and studied Italian. And after, the 7 months, I ended up I thought, okay, let me go to France for a while because I have a degree in French. But here's another thing. So I'm communicating with this guy, right? And I'm like, I can't, if we can't see each other, I understand what you're doing. You've got these huge backers in the world with this business venture that you're doing. I mean, it's like huge, and I totally get it, but I can't continue a relationship if I can't see you. So here was this guy that we really liked each other, but I had to make a choice again. And I was like, if I can't see you, we can't keep going on like this because it's been a little too long. And fortunately, God, this is something that I say every day. The universe always has my back, and God is leading my way. So write that down because
and that's not religion. I mean, we don't have any part of what we would call the God in a box religion, I don't think. And so,
No.
And I'm always saying everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm driving, just thank you, thank you, thank you about everything. I'm just in gratitude and expectation of good. And, it draws a lot to you.
Oh, that's so good, Charla. That's so important. You're absolutely right. And, but I always say that to myself, like really trusting that the universe always has my back and God is leading my way. Or you can say universe is leading my way, whatever you want to say. And so I took a chance, and I fortunately, just before I kind of broke up with this guy, I was communicating with a friend I'd known since I studied in Paris when I was 19, 20. And they were like, hey, no, we know somebody who's got a place that they're going to be renting and it's a really great place. It's a really safe town. It's like a beautiful, small, safe, gorgeous, in southern France, because I don't want to do cold, icy weather. And so God had opened another door. I threw all my stuff in a car, rented a stick shift, whenever I get a chance to drive a stick shift, and drove to France with all my stuff by myself, figured it out, and hey, sometimes it's scary, but I always try to test myself, and I encourage everybody out there to do that. And I know you do, Charla. You're really good at this. And that is going out of our comfort zone, even if it's just little things, like I try to test myself during the day. Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to go through my normal routine, my workout thing. It's like, wait a minute. Let's go a little out of your comfort zone, Sherry, and maybe deviate a little bit today. And I encourage everybody to do that. So anyways, I'm so grateful. It was, what a journey. I did make limoncello out of lemons. I did turn, a crisis into an opportunity. And I'm just here to encourage everybody to do that. It's not, that there's not pain and heartache. And, I went back to the Palisades on January 7th, just this past January, which was a year ago, after the fires. Oh, that's a whole debacle. That's a whole other show in itself, but I just loved that place on Mama Earth. I so vibed with that place. And, but I just go, hey, there's all these other opportunities out there that I have to carpe diem, seize the day. And I really encourage, everybody to do that, to definitely choose faith over fear. And one other small thing, Charla, is, sometimes we think, gosh, what gift could I give to people? Or if I'm struggling, the best thing to do is to try to help somebody else. But to me, it seems really small, but one of the best gifts is when I'm walking down the street, or if I'm going for a walk or I'm going for a run, is to give someone a smile. I love that. Like, just meet their eyes and smile. It picks their whole spirit up, their heart. And I'm telling you, Americans are probably friendlier in general than maybe French people. They're just a little bit more reserved. It's just their culture, right? So they'll be walking around kind of serious, and you just go, bonjour, and they'll just be like almost shocked sometimes, or you could just tell it really lifts up people's spirits.
And it doesn't, so that's what, it doesn't take much to make a difference. This is where the Candy Bar Hugs, my book, comes in. It's a tiny book with a big message. And I wrote it and published it, self-published it in 2017. But I offer a candy bar to the checkout person. And would you like a hug? And those stories came out of that.
Oh,
those stories came out from that. So it's a tiny pay it forward book.
So that's how it worked. You would check out like at the grocery store somewhere, and would
at Walmart or Kroger's or whatever, and I'll go, hey, what's your favorite candy bar? And and one of the stories that probably caused me to think more about actually putting it into a book was one lady. Who was with me? Mary Beth was with me when this happened. It was right before the Yes Conference.
If you're listening to the show, we love you, Mary Beth. Anyway. Yeah.
And, so there was a lady at the checkout at Target. It was, what's your favorite candy bar? And she said, you don't have to do that. And I said, no, I'd love to get you a candy bar. She goes, that's the nicest thing anybody's ever done for me. And then, so I got her the candy bar, and I always get a witness. I mean, I want either a witness or a receipt, whatever. And then I said, do you mind if I give you a hug? And she broke down. She's
really?
Like, you had no idea. I just found out my mom is terminal today. She just found, and so, it doesn't take much to make a difference. And you're talking about the smile. It's free. It's cheap. Show up and love people.
And do it, especially when it's hard, right? Maybe we're feeling down and we're just like, then, it brings our spirits up.
Yeah. And Matt Kahn said this years ago, and I was like, well, that makes me a master. A master is one who blesses. And so even if you're in a place that you don't like somebody, I mean, you don't have to like everybody, you don't have to love everybody, but you can bless them anyway. A master is one who blesses.
How about that? I've never heard that. So Charla, I grabbed one thing. When I went back to my house after it burned down, I got one thing. Everything else just wasn't. And I had to wear a hazmat suit just to be safe. But this is the one thing I picked up out of all the rubble.
And thoughts become things. Isn't that the truth?
My little rock that I always had on my desk, of course, it was a brighter color and it wasn't broken. But thoughts become things.
That is the truth. It is proven scientifically. So think good thoughts. I've got this little one. I don't know if you can see it. All things are possible. I love this little, oops, it's upside backwards. All things are possible.
Thank you. That's the theme of our show today, huh? Also.
Everything is always working out for me. And I've got my little notepad of sticky notes.
That's great. Oh my gosh.
I knew that we did an hour before we even came on here and just getting caught up. So I'm so grateful for you. And we just always had an affinity, right, for each other.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful to reconnect with you, Charla. You're just amazing. And you're just such a great spirit and so caring, with such a kind heart. And, when you had that Yes conference, that was so beneficial for everyone. You just, you're a light and a spirit that is out there really caring about humanity. And I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you.
We're home. It's because most people listen instead of watch. It's we're holding up our little heart hands. So
there you go.
Mutual hearts.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to cover. I know you asked me some questions before I came on. I mean, I do have things.
Well, I want to ask you. It's something I cannot imagine. I got to leave. What do I take? I think that there are people that prepare people for that. Have your ducks in a row, have your important things somewhere that in a place to go. Be prepared. You said you had a lot of your stuff prepared, and I can't fathom having to do what you did. Not you, but so many people do. Not just in that situation. We got hurricanes. We got in Texas, right? We got other things, but we don't typically have earthquakes. So really, be prepared. I'm a be prepared kind of girl. I was like a Girl Scout or whatever,
Me too.
And my diaper bag always had way more things than I ever used, but I was just, I was a flight attendant. I traveled and I, try to think ahead. What are you going to need? But in
That's
your own
right.
home, you just don't expect to lose everything.
No, you don't. And you think in the back of your head, oh no, there's no way my house is going to burn down. But, so I definitely encourage everybody to get your ducks in a row. Of course, if you're a flight attendant.
I'm talking to me because I don't have them in a row.
Yeah,
as far as paperwork and things like that, things that
the computer, like all those important things, your hard drive backup. What did you say? Clothes?
Photos.
Oh, photos. Yeah. I left all my clothes and I had like vintage clothing, just some really special. When I lived years ago in New York City, this gal that I taught aerobics back then also in a dance studio. This gal who was a friend of mine I met her because she took my classes, but she and her daughters had fashion shows and this amazing vintage clothing from like the 40s dresses, linen, and from the 50s. And I had, I think about it, and that kind of,
it's just stuff. It's just stuff. I mean, you came out with your life, and if that's all you had, that would have been what you had, right? Fortunately, you had a few minutes to grab a few things, but I mean, I was like, how do people, get in the traffic, and all those things? There's so many things to consider. Now, when we get tornado sirens here every so often. Now I step towards them and I play Psalm 91 of Psalm 91 has every protection promise of God in one chapter. And I play that over and over and over, and I'm stepping out and I put Psalm 91 shield of protection around my home and my car and my kids and my family, my neighborhood when it's happening. That's the way I live. I'm always putting Psalm 91. I'm driving. Thank you for your shield of protection over my car, my home, my kids. And so when it's like, I just don't attract. I've got an Airbnb in my home, and I just don't. My daughter said, "Well, what if somebody, does something?" And I said, "I just don't attract that. I just don't attract that."
Right.
I get to choose. It's all choice, right? But I would have been I would have been going, "Oh no, my house is protected." I may have because I believe it so strongly.
No, that's good. That's good to put that bubble of protection over your position, your person, for us to remember to do that. And I feel like I definitely have my
10,000 angels. I'm interrupting, but I also claim 10,000 angels. I don't know if you know who I am is bold faith, no fear. And I said that for many, 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 many years. Who I am is bold faith, no fear. And when I was robbed at gunpoint and I stepped towards the gun and said, "Y'all need love," and they ran, I had no fear.
When was that?
It was right after I hadn't published my book, but it was in 2017.
Oh.
I was on a 6-week trek around the country for long story, but this outrageously courageous, bold faith, no fear step towards the gun will be my next book. And I got the cover done several years ago.
Wow.
I haven't written the book, but the fear is, it could be suffering or rejection, or step towards the fear. So
what was it that you said when they put the gun to your head?
Y'all need love. I stepped towards the gun and said, "Y'all need love," and they ran.
Wow.
But I had no fear, which is what was really the story, not being right. But that I was shaken.
Yes.
That I would have no fear. And that's because whatever you say after the words "I am" is who you are. Right. It's the God in you. It's God's name in you. And I talk about this a lot, but your thoughts are things, and words, every word matters. So split second, I'm telling you, I'm just going through with my little books. I've got split second transformation, change your words, change your life, 31 daily practices, small book. Well, this was my granddaughter colored in, but wow. It's autographed by my granddaughter, but
Charla.
So every word matters. Every thought matters. It becomes words. You speak what you desire, and then God gives you the desires of your heart.
Oh my gosh. You should be teaching workshops out there also.
I should. When am I going to do when I grow up? I really
combine all that stuff, all that wisdom that you share in your books. And I think you should throw together some sort of seminar.
Well, when you get back into States, let's do it.
Okay. No, that sounds good. Gosh, I'm so grateful. Thank you Charla, and thank you for everyone out there listening for your time. And, I just, and I know Charla, you do too. And you've been so encouraging to me to just encourage people to keep going. Write down what you want to create with your life, clarify it in your mind what it is you're shooting for, and put it in writing, very positive, like it's happening. And every day do something towards that. I've done that, and I've written down and try to write it down in, even distill it down,
tense,
10 words.
As it is, as it are, actually, I'm witnessing and watching this evidence, scientific evidence, that we have, our brains are much, 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 much bigger than we've given them credit for, that we use such a tiny bit. And so now you can you can project and act as if it's already on its way. So I say prayers, pray, thank your prayers, gratitude, thank you that it's already done. And then you lay it at his feet, you see it done, and release it, relax, release, let it go, and watch it show up. So these are your desires. Words matter. So I'm teaching to the choir here, because you're the you know these things, and we don't know.
That's so important what you just said, Charla, because when we put it out like it's already happened, everything, the whole vibration, the frequency, everything in the universe shifts.
And they've proven it scientifically. If you have to have scientific proof, or you can just try it because it works.
Yes. And even if it's hard, like, oh no, I'm fooling myself, just sit with it and visualize it and feel it. That's right, when the spark goes, when you can feel it. And you can get to that point, even if it's for a couple of seconds, where you feel it like it's, something that you want really, to create in your life, really something you want badly, something you want to create in your life, whatever it is, and put it out there and feel it. Because when you're doing that, the universe doesn't, work on a timeline like we do, past, present, future. So it really taps something. It taps something, and then things start coming to you, and these things start happening, like things come to you like a magnet, of what you're trying to create.
And release expectation of the result, because if you release the expectation, so I know for a fact where I'm going to live. I'm going to live at 501 Samuels. I know I'm going to live there. I don't know exactly when, and I don't know exactly which. I know it'll be the southwest corner of the building, because it overlooks the Trinity River in Fort Worth. It's what I want. It's what I desire. I try not to say want too much, because want means lack, so I try to say desire, which is of the Father. And, there's no doubt. And my friend Mary Margaret, she witnessed it too. She's like, when I needed a place to live, and I laid it, I was like, I went and I found a place. This is what the little house, I wanted it. I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want. This is perfect. And I called, I got the application and all this stuff. And they go, well, somebody's already put deposit down. And I was like, okay. So they were going to call me at noon, and they didn't call me the next day. And they said, they said, no, I said, you know where I need to be. You know when I need to be there. You know what I want. And I know you want to give me what I desire or better. I release attachment and let it go. And I went about my day. They called it out just after 5, and they're going, well, we don't know why she did it, but she just didn't, she lost her lease. She didn't want to take it. And I just laughed, and I said, well, that's because I'm in favor. And she said, that's exactly what Mary Margaret said, those words. And so I moved into my little house, and that's when I met you. I was living there when we met.
That's awesome. What a great story. Yes.
But that's happened multiple times. With Mary Margaret specifically, I mean, that's where I met her. She was selling condos, so I lived in the top floor of the TMP lofts in Fort Worth, and it's a beautiful old structure, 1930s structure, and they turned it into these wonderful townhomes. And I almost bought it, and the door opened for me to buy it, then slammed shut, and I'm like, oh well, okay. And I got to go to Israel. Things happened, and I got back from Israel, and Mary Margaret had a birthday party, and I met, hey, we all showed up, and last minute thing, turned 50, and I said, we're sitting there, and I said to the people next to me, what is your, how do y'all know Mary Margaret? Well, everybody knew her because of selling this, they were selling the last 5 units in this building when I met her, and I said, oh, I almost got that. I bought one, but it didn't work out. And he goes, oh, you're the one. Oh, we're so sorry. Because they said the number, the unit, and they'd bought it. And they said, but it's for rent. I lived there for 2 years, the one I wanted. And so happy I didn't buy it. But
wow. Wow. Look at that.
You manifest things with your thoughts and your words. And because every time I would drive, I would see it. I could see it when I went over the overpass all the way downtown. And so I don't know. Is it magic? Nope.
I know there's something else I have that I didn't have right here near my desk, and I don't want to step out of the shop, but I'm going to grab it.
Wow. This is so much fun. To me, I mean, I tell these stories often, but, people catch the.
So here you go. Let me see. Can you see that?
I can see it, but I got my glasses on to read it. Expect a miracle.
Expect a miracle.
Is that your business card, or is that somebody?
I made these. I don't have my name or anything on it. I made a bunch of these just to hand out.
Well, guess what?
What?
In 2007, a girl gave me, she said, you're a clearing for miracles. And I said, well, I'll receive that. And I've just rewritten all the, intro to my show, and with help, whatever was in there, and ChatGPT cleaned it up, and they said, Charla is a clearing for miracles. And so just got that this week. And here you have.
Really? Okay, awesome. Because you asked me what I wanted. That was one of the questions you asked me. I want a state-of-the-art studio to do my show in Europe and in the USA. And actually, I want to travel around the world. I shouldn't say I want. I'm going to. I am. It's like
you already are. Yeah.
I am, right? I want to interview, and I do now, but I mean, I want to go on location, not just, do it on Zoom, but definitely have a studio. But there are people doing great things in the world, and all we hear in the mainstream media, not that, like, it's important for us to be awake and understand what's really happening in the world. I totally get that. There's a balance. There has to be a balance, though. But there are so many amazing people in the world doing great things for humanity, but we never hear or read about that, right? Well, I'd like to travel around and go to different countries and interview people that are doing things like that also. I mean, yes.
You have some pretty big name people. Well, a lot of people, and you were in California, and me having you on my show because we're friends, and it'll up level my show, right? So thank you for that. And
thank you. No, I mentioned to you, I just, if some people have heard of David Icke, he's written a lot of things, and he's actually banned from like 23 or so European countries just because they're telling him, you can come into these countries now if you change your view. All he's doing is talking about the truth. He's just telling about the truth. And this guy, I think it was Denmark. No, it was Holland. They're like, David Icke is telling people that there's a top 1% in the world of elites that are running the planet. And it's like, duh. Well,
Exactly,
sorry,
right?
but he's right. And he's not going to change his view, but anyways, I just a week ago got to spend when I was in London, I got to spend a couple of hours with him one-on-one, which is what a great gift, and have lunch with him. But
And we want everybody to go and look on, especially on Rumble. Rumble is where your main thing is, right? A right to know, a right, R-I-G-H-T, to know podcast. And you interview people who are really asking hard questions and finding good answers, right? Or at least
amazing.
Looking for the truth, because the truth will set us free.
Yes.
And we're both what I would call awake to these things that have been going on for a long, long, long time.
Yes.
And then when we were talking before the show, and I was like, do you remember, certain scenes or certain things? And you're like, yes, yes. And I was like, they were grooming us, first of all, to be divided. Because if we're united and love each other, if unconditional love, which is my message, unconditional love is God loves, not unconditional. My tiny book, it says unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, not unconditional boundaries, right? So you don't have to have, be abused. Don't stay in that. But
right.
But when you can just let go, may you be blessed. I know, this is, though they're all working together.
I know there's so many things we could talk about. No, but yeah, that's right. It's just, I've always been a curious kid, like what's going on in the world and why is this happening? And just really, and I encourage everybody to think critically. And like I mentioned, that's why I call my show a Right to Know. And actually, there are things I talked about on my show for 20 years. I used to be on FM radio on a huge signal, the largest signal west of the Mississippi, on KPFK FM, which is like free speech radio, it was called, in Studio City, Los Angeles, but the signal was in Santa Barbara. It went out all over the place. So it was a really big show that I did for almost 10 years, a Right to Know, and then it was called Healthy Planet, Healthy Me for a while. But in any event, I'm on YouTube, and that was where my main audience was, and I was one of the first people, during the COVID time, to get kicked off YouTube just because I was talking about the same thing I talked about 20 years ago, and all of a sudden we weren't allowed to talk about it, right? It was like, wow.
Censoring is real. And, and like when I've mentioned this to some people, they go, I said, Google is search, it's not research,
Right.
Right. So they own YouTube. And so Google is search, it's not research. And so there's a lot of people that disagree with you and I and our take on things. And I will just say, we just have different sources of information. And if you're getting yours from mainstream media,
no, that's a narrative. Mm-hmm. That's just a total narrative. But, I definitely encourage people, enjoy. I've got some amazing shows just up. I just interviewed Sasha Stone again. And
I loved, he's such a fun guy. I got to meet him and Scott McKay and a few of those.
Right. Yeah, and Sasha and Scott McKay, my buddy, and Sasha, he always does a great show, but this last one was really stupendous. And depends on when you're going to be watching this broadcast here, but I just recently put up a show, and that was one of the reasons I went to London, is because they did the 5th test on this product, MasterPeace. Which to me, it's a godsend. It's like the most important thing on the planet right now to me at this moment in time is, especially after COVID, they've been finding, Jesse Beltran's does amazing things. Watch the show, but he has the meters that nobody else has. And he's finding that we all have biosensors in us. They're like self-assembling, and they can be self-programmable. But there's a way to take them out. There's a way to get them out safely. And the only thing that they've found so far, and they did a 2-month test on 23 subjects, and I got to meet a lot of the people there when they came back for the results. So they took, it's just like an 𝐲𝐬𝐧𝐬. It's like a homeopathic remedy. It's just all natural, 𝐲𝐬𝐬𝐧, but it cages these things and pulls them safely out of our bodies. And hopefully in the future, they might come out with other things too that do this, but we have to stay ahead of the curve because everybody's heard of 4G and 5G. Well, 6G, ask ChatGPT if you want to understand it, but 6G is what they're heading towards now. And I think China just turned their 6G on and, perhaps it's just a testing phase. But basically, if you have a 6G technology and people have biosensors in them, they can put thoughts in your mind. They can put, sound. I mean, they've done it before. It's not they could. It's called Havana syndrome.
And they do, and they have, and they will.
Yeah.
And and you and I don't focus on the fear. You just said it earlier.
Not at all.
Who I am is bold faith, no fear. But we focus on solutions and possibilities and so what you were holding up is a little bottle of you call it MasterPeace, but it's PEACE MasterPeace, and that's a product, and we'll have the link in the description, I'm sure, of the things that you talk about or you want to share, you've shared. So so we'll have you want to do your own research. It's not like we're telling you, but people are really waking up to the fact that there's an agenda that does not have the best of humanity's
exactly
future in their agenda. They want us in fear. They want us divided. They want us upset. They want us confused. They want us in lack. There is no lack in our world, but they want us to feel lack. They want us to feel, I call it a distribution issue because they want us. And when we say they, we're really kind of talking about that one layer to puppet masters of humanity.
Yeah.
And it used to be conspiracy theory, but there's too much evidence.
But they use that term because they didn't want us to think critically.
Right.
Sorry. And I've always been a curious kid asking questions, and I'm never going to stop. And I encourage everybody to keep asking questions. And and it's a balance. And you mentioned a couple of times, Charla, divide and conquer. Well, we have to unite as humanity, like all these things we're talking about today, to empower yourself, but it's also important for us because they are working on dividing us more than, there's definitely a spiritual war going on right now, and humanity wins, but we can't take that for granted.
God has already won, and we're just we're witnessing.
To play it out.
I'm so excited to be alive to witness this shift into the golden age and through the beautiful life. But in the meantime, there's a last ditch effort from the dark side that wants to keep us upset and in confusion. And we've got to keep love, listen to the good things, find the right people that will lift you up instead of, I call it a spirit. I feel like I put like a spirit of offense. I feel like there's people are going around ready to be offended, and I call it a spirit of offense or fence. Yeah. So, when you're offended, I told my grandkids, nobody can hurt your feelings without your permission. So get over yourself.
There you go. Very good. Good stuff, Charla. Thank you so much for having me on today. I know we could talk for hours and hours, but I hope everybody's encouraged and keep, humanity, stand up, unite. Don't let them continue dividing us, definitely love, forgiveness, all that good stuff. But at the same time, I think it's important that we don't bury our head in the sand and we see what's going on and just be totally empowered. Because once we unite humanity, when we unite together, they know we're going to take off.
It's game over. So yeah,
game over.
And we're very blessed to be a part of it and watching. And my show doesn't talk about this stuff very much. My show typically is overcoming, and you've overcome so much. I mean, I can't even imagine the fire thing. But look at you. You're in France or, you're Italy, all this stuff, limoncello.
Working on my French, working on my Italian, doing my podcast.
Yeah, so a right to know.com, I guess, a right to know.
Yeah, it's a right to know.com and rumble.com/a right to know, all the words spelled out. Please tap onto that because I'm now building on Rumble since I'm not on YouTube, even though I'm hearing people are getting their counts now put back up. But in any event, and then I'll go to other platforms as well. But mainly building Rumble right now. So thank you so much for your time.
Sherry is spelled the normal way, I guess,
like the
most
wine.
Common way,
SHERRY.
And Beall, Beall.
Like be all that you can be.
I love that.
BEALL.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Thank you, Charla. It's just been a blessing.
Love catching up with you. We're gonna do it with skin on pretty soon. I hope one of these days.
Sounds good. We will for sure.
Well, blessings to you, and always, always, always remember to choose joy. I'm taking a mini moment to share about cell health. One of the most important pieces in our body. Are your cells hard and crunchy? Are they soft and malleable? Let me tell you, if they're hard and crunchy, the nutrients can't get in and out. And if they're soft and squishy and malleable, the nutrients can. So when you have good, soft, malleable cells, you have better brain function, hair quality, heart function, skin elasticity, inner organs are better, and your joints and muscles are better. Whoop. See that? But like 99% of North Americans, we're out of balance in our omega-3 to omega-6. Test, don't guess. We've got a test. It will absolutely give you your results on a full scale test of your balance. You need to be 3 to 1 or better, like 99% of North Americans are not. So we've got a simple solution. 1 second shot of beautiful golden omega-3 oil a day. Test, don't guess. Now back to the show.